also known as MetalRenard, and this is the fourth in a group of tutorials in which I'm teaching you how to make your own music. This time round, MIDI editing and advanced techniques. So what's the goal in this tutorial? Well, we're going to try and make our VSTs sound as realistic as possible without actually changing any EQ and effects. So let's listen to the most obvious one right now, which to me I think is the piano. Listen to how the notes are short, and you'll definitely hear what I mean. So as you can hear, the notes are very short. They don't ring out as they would if you were playing them. Imagine when you're programming a MIDI instrument that you're playing it, so you want the notes to flow naturally. So as you can see, I've already highlighted quite a lot. So to highlight notes, if you hold the right click on your mouse and drag, you can drag a selection. But if you hold the control button on your computer and right click and drag, you can add to a selection or take away from a selection. So let's add all these notes. Let's just zoom out a bit. We want to drag all these, so from here up to there. All these. And then these little stragglers down here. And we're going to make them longer. Now let's listen to the difference. So, before and after. So as you can see, that's got a much better flow to it. It doesn't sound like somebody's hitting it with a hammer as you're going along either. Another thing you can consider when you're editing in MIDI is the velocity. Now, I explained in the first tutorial what velocity is, but I'll go through it with you again. The higher the velocity, the harder the note is being struck. On the piano, if the velocity is low, you're barely touching the keys. When it's high, you're hitting them very hard. So I found that the good balance on this VST for this song was around here. So there you go. One thing to remember when you're editing MIDI in Reaper is there's a slight error. If, for example, I stretched this note over here, it won't play the note that I stretched it over. Oh, well, it did that time, but often it doesn't. Often that doesn't work, and today it decided to do so. It must be sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, but just remember, don't overlap the MIDI notes. And also sometimes, if you stretch notes out all at the same time, it will delete a few. Of course, it's not doing it here, but it does sometimes happen. So just watch out for that. If you suddenly hear a note that's missing, then zoom in, open your MIDI item, zoom in with a mouse wheel. You can highlight tiny little notes like that, and you can fix them. Like I said, no software is perfect, but you just have to work around the good parts and the bad parts of all the software you use. Now, we've fixed the piano a bit. Let's look at something that's very badly lacking. So the string section. Of course, like I said in previous videos, string sections are very hard to make them realistic, but we're doing the best we can with free gear for the sake of this tutorial. So let's have a listen. So if you listen carefully then, you can hear there's a slight gap between each note, where one ends and the next one begins. Now, one way of fixing that is to go into the actual instrument and play with R, which is release. It's how long it takes for the note to stop playing once the MIDI instrument stops receiving information from the MIDI. So if I take this down, do you hear how the gap increased? And do you hear how it kept on going then? So I found the good area for this was towards the middle. So if I take it down, if I decided to make it a shorter release, then what I'd have to do is compensate in the MIDI by maybe lengthening the notes. Oh, slight bug there. Sorry about that, guys. So I'll just increase the length, like that. So now you're hearing a slight overlap, so you have to really work out, every instrument will sound different, so you want to find the good balance for your instrument. And I think that sounds very nice. It's as realistic as I think we're going to get it in that sense. So as you can hear, this VST doesn't have different sample layers like the piano one does. So whether you put it at high or low velocity, all it will change is the volume level. Some higher quality VSTs like the piano one do have multiple layers of samples, and that's when you have to really play around with that. So what's another thing we can do? Well, if you noticed, right now, all the notes are exactly the same level on the velocity down here, and that is very mechanical sounding. So now we're going to try and take out the parts in the music that we want to hear most. So my favourite part of this entire song, my very, very favourite part, is when we have those big piano hits down here. I just love that rhythm. So what I want to do is accentuate that. So I'm going to hold right click and drag, and then hold control to add things to it, like this. And then I'm going to increase the velocity. But then also I could, for example, I want the rhythm to be quite forwards in this, so I'm going to highlight the entire lower section. And increase that velocity in general. So now we're already adding a slight more texture. It's already sounding more interesting, I think. Now what's another thing we can do? Well, if you press Ctrl A, and then you press H, you get up this menu, Humanize Notes. So when you're playing an instrument, you're not going to play the exact same velocity every single time. So what this does is makes the notes slightly random. Now you can play around with this on the percentage you want. I usually put it at around 9%, and the timing basis at about 20. This means that the notes will be slightly more powerful on the beat, which people have a tendency to do when they're playing, and make all the notes slightly different in power. So let's have a listen now. So, if you look at the velocity levels now, there's a lot more difference. I think in fact I want a little bit more. So let's add another 9%. Yep, looking good. So now you can check it out visually, but you can also hear it when you play the song back to you. So that means that what we've done so far is we've made the piano fit the sound that we expected for it. We made it sound more realistic in playing, and we've also accentuated parts of the song that we wanted to bring forwards. Oh, there's a straggler there, and up you go. Ah, I can't aim with my mouse today. There we go. And we made the string section work better by changing the length of the notes. I hope these tutorials help you out. I will keep on making them as long as I have things that I can teach you about, and they are released every Wednesday, so please subscribe if you want to keep up to date on them, And also, if you're interested in my original music, you can check it out on my channel. I release a new song every Friday. And I'm considering making a new video also every weekend, maybe like a jam session or a vlog or something, maybe both together. And I'll be seeing you guys around. Thank you very much for checking out my videos. I am MetalRenard, and take care now. Bye bye.